This is like persona modeling, but on steroids. So instead of creating a static buyer persona, imagine dynamically simulating how real decision makers behave across their entire buyer journey. So essentially, you don't need A/B testing because you essentially test everything before you put it into market. Hello and welcome to the Health Tech Marketing Show. I'm your host, Adam Turinas. Today is another one of those episodes where I focus exclusively on an AI topic. It's one of those AI quick take episodes, and I'm going to do a deep dive into one of the most interesting and frankly quite misunderstood areas of AI called digital twins. And I'm going to focus on what it really means to us as marketers. Digital twins is a notion that's been around for a little bit, and it's very common in engineering and technology. But I hope that by the end of this episode, you're going to understand why this application of AI could be really useful to us as marketers. Before we get started, I want to give a thank you to you for listening to this episode. And also a thank you to our presenting sponsors. So our longest sponsor are the wonderful people from HIMSS, the leading healthcare IT association and host of so many great events. I also want to thank Healthcare Now, the 24/7 series of expert shows. They do shows on shows and interviews and podcasts that are really designed to help leaders in healthcare with things like innovation, policy, and stuff like that. Thank you to both of you for your support. Now, let's talk about digital twins and why they could change the game in how marketing works. I'm going to start off with the basics. So what exactly is a digital twin? Simply put, a digital twin is a virtual model of a real-world process or a system or even a persona, a person. Think of it as a digital replica that mirrors something physical and that can simulate how real things behave. And in healthcare, we're already seeing digital twins being used in quite a few places. You might be aware of things like digital twins of hospital workflows that simulate exactly how patient workflows, how a patient flow works through your emergency department. And this means that organizations can understand how patients are going to flow through their organization. Another example might be a digital replica of a patient for personalized treatment modeling, where clinicians can test different treatment approaches virtually before implementing them with the actual patient. We're even seeing digital devices, digital twins in use in medical devices, like simulating how a pacemaker will perform on a specific patient, or modeling an MRI machine performance and maintenance, things like that. Some health systems are even creating digital twins for their entire operations. And this is where it gets quite interesting for us as marketers. Think of this as a change from the sort of typical quite static models that we use, like a persona. These are much more dynamic. So what a digital twin model will do is ingest real world data continuously, and it learns over time and it evolves with every single input. You kind of think of it, I think an analogy would be like SimCity meets precision medicine. Only this is for your hospital, your patient, or even your buyer journey. The key insight here is that digital twins aren't just about modeling what exists today. They're about predicting what happens next and being able to test scenarios and then optimize the result of what you're doing. And that means that you can do this before you invest in putting a program, for example, into market. You can model and simulate your customer's world, better than you can today. And if you do that well, you're going to gain a real competitive advantage. The other thing is that from the customer standpoint is that you have the opportunity to make yourself much more valuable in their decision-making process. And you're not just selling a product anymore, you're being much more convincing in showing them the proven outcomes that they're going to realize by adopting the solution that you're selling. And that's why I think that digital twins could really change how we approach healthcare marketing. We're moving from just trust us, our solution works, to showing you exactly how it'll work in your specific environment as a customer. It's really different. So let's go down a bit deeper for us as healthcare technology marketers. And I've got 3 use cases that I want to go through with you. The first marketing use case is about creating a digital twin of your buyers. So this is like persona modeling, but on steroids. So instead of creating a static buyer persona, imagine dynamically simulating how real decision makers behave across their entire buyer journey. So you can have basically how this simulate the entire buying group and in a dynamic way. So you can get better at predicting which messages are going to resonate, which channels are going to work best, what content is going to engage them more effectively, and at what point in the process to use it. So this is all something that we do in part of our planning, but the idea here is that you can do it in real time. So I kind of think about this as it applies to ABM, is you can be much more predictive, knowing with confidence what messages at what time through which channels are going to get your highest value prospects engaged and moving through the pipeline with you. So, for example, you could create personalized email sequences and campaign flows that are really tailored based on these digital twin behavior patterns. So you don't need A/B testing because you essentially test everything before you put it into market. The second use case is in product marketing. And this gets pretty exciting. So if your market, for example, touches operations or clinical workflows, digital twins can let you simulate the value before your customer ever buys. So here, give you an example. Let's say you've got your marketing scheduling software. So instead of showing ROI calculators, you could create a digital twin of your prospect's actual scheduling process. And then you can show them this is exactly how your patient throughput is going to improve when you use our software. And here's the simulation showing that 15% better user utilization in your cardiac cath lab specifically, for example. You can also do things like create interactive demo environments that are digital twins of your customer's actual world. So this isn't some generic demo environment. This is their specific situation, showing their constraints about their patient population, and you're modeling their workflows. The third use case is about sales enablement. And this could be the most powerful one. So digital twins let your sales rep demo the outcomes before deployment. And as we all know, right, a lot of deals get stalled right at the end. And so this is an opportunity to help the customers de-risk their decision. So rather than asking them to take a leap of faith with you, you're going to show them exactly what happens when they implement your solution. So again, it's about showing them how this is going to work in their environment. And the bottom line here is that digital twins make it easier for you to let your buyers experience your value before they write the check. Again, it's all about de-risking that decision for them. So, for us as marketers and as salespeople, the thing that I'm excited about is it might be a way to get that white whale that we all deal with in healthcare, which is the eternal sales cycle. I think this could be a way to shorten the sales cycle by de-risking the purchase decision. So how can you get started with this? Let me give you 3 practical approaches that you could start to implement. The first one is about leveraging your customer data to build what I call proto-digital twins. So even if you're not doing a full-blown simulation yet, you can use your customer insights to create sophisticated models of buyer behaviors. So you can then use that for segmenting buyer behavior patterns that go beyond demographics. You can simulate responses to different campaign approaches based on part of that customer data. You can create predictive models for which prospects are most likely to convert based on their digital engagement platters. The key thing is that by creating these synthetic customers, these digital twins, you can start thinking systematically about how your customers behave and what drives their decisions, and then model those behaviors. Second approach is in content development. So for your content strategy. And so here would be an example. You could use a digital twin of your buyers to create a day in the life of content journeys that are powered by real insights about how your solutions transform workflows. So you don't just tell stories, you show simulated transformations. And this can, position your solution as a catalyst for your buyer, for your champion buyer, to sell your solution within the organization by giving them the tools and the data that back up why you are the right solution for them. The third approach is in demos. So this is where you can really differentiate yourself from your competitors. So in this situation, you partner your product to your clinical teams to co-develop visual demos that use digital twin logic. So instead of showing generic demo environments, you're creating a future state simulation that can be an absolutely blow away sales and marketing tool that's tailored to each prospect's specific situation. So think about this, is that if you start to really get your head around digital twins now and start building up those capabilities over the next year, you're going to be able to create a competitive note. So while your competitors are still doing kind of basic demos and hoping that the prospects will be convinced by that about the value, you're showing them exactly what success looks like in their specific situation. So I think this is very, very exciting. And the future here is we could be moving towards a model where you have full hospital-wide simulation platforms that can model entire health systems, their patient flow, the staffing, the supply chain, the financial performance, the clinical outcomes, all in one single integrated simulation. And you can then expand that to things like population health modeling, supply chain optimization, diagnostic pathway simulations. So here's what I think is going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years. I think the winners in healthcare, the ones that will actually have a competitive moat, are going to be the vendors who can model impact pre-sale better than their competitors. They'll be the ones who can show, not tell, exactly what the value is that their solution delivers. And so instead of a 18-month evaluation process, they'll be able to prove the value in weeks because they can simulate the outcomes immediately. And for the buyers, again, it de-risks that decision. My closing advice to you is this. I know this does sound like quite an overwhelming and quite futuristic concept, but I really believe that this could be a transformative thing for companies who get a head start on it. So I really would encourage you to take the time to learn more about it over the next few months. I hope you found this helpful. I mean, this is one of those topics where I learned a ton just by researching this and thinking through the implications of it in creating this podcast. I really do think this could represent a fundamental shift in how we approach marketing and sales. So with that, I want to thank you for listening. And just one last thing, if you found this useful, and if you're watching on YouTube, give it a thumbs up. And if you're listening on whatever application, podcast application you listen to, do me a favor and give it a positive rating, because it really matters and it's going to help other people find this podcast. And by the way, if you think somebody else might find this podcast useful, please go ahead and send it to them. I'd be grateful to you. So with that, thank you for listening, and I bid you farewell.